another silent giant. Heroine is like, it was like, oh my God, it fits
I
so
love that.
perfectly. Yeah, it
I love
fits.
that for me. It was a lot of hard work, but I also want to acknowledge that, it's a privilege.
Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sit with Aqsa. Of course, like I'm here with another silent giant. Like, why would else I would be here, right? I have some amazing person. But then again, like we have always done in our how we introduce ourselves and just go back to the current affairs and everything. So just want to highlight that. So we already know what's happening around the world. Like right now, we are very much aware of the dogs that are in US and people are actually trying to get them out. And the whole situation has taken toll on a lot of people. So just do whatever you can now to raise awareness. Apart from that, around the world, we have seen like Palestine and also Lebanon, Iran, everyone is going through one or more turmoil. So just try whatever you can, even if it's through monetary. But if you cannot do that, if it's through raising awareness, if it's just through sharing, if it's anything like even using your skills, that'd be perfect. So here I am. Yes, I don't think I do that much, but just this platform, just using to raise this awareness. And now we are going to go to our guest at the in the hot seat. Hi Vanessa, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you, Aksa?
I'm great. I'm great. Whenever I dive into like guests and I search, when I was searching you, it was as if like I am in Vanessa Spelman's like world. And there's just I
I
always
love that.
think about, yeah, I always think about that, okay, there's this title that I have to give to everyone, right? And it's usually happens after the episode. But with you, it was just instant. It was like the healer who is also on the road to heal is like it was like, oh my God, it fits
I love that.
perfectly. Yeah, it
I love
fits.
that for me.
It's
Thank you.
it's perfect. Yeah, of course. So I'm going to first highlight about your achievements so that everyone know, and then we'll move on to the way like conversation takes off. We'll see where it takes us. Okay, so first is that you have 16 years as a clinical psychologist experience. You started your private practice almost 10 years ago. You worked in NYC foster care, Brooklyn School, NYU Langone, if I'm not pronouncing that wrong, and Queen's College as adjunct professor, licensed in multiple states, runs free mindless group for moms as Greenwich YMCA, created a free mini course for women navigating their first holidays post divorce, created a resource for parents on how to talk to their children about divorce using books, and bilingual in English and Spanish. Dude, this is amazing. Like, I was searching and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, she's over there to over there to over there to over. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank
Like,
you.
how does that feel? Like, sometimes when we're moving towards our journey, it sometimes feel like, okay, it's just the next hurdle because we are kind of setting another goal for us. But when someone else actually mentioned what we have done and what we are doing, it just seems like, okay, no, that's me. That's what I've done. So how did it feel like?
I mean, well, thank you for doing all that research. I feel so humbled. So I think first I feel humbled and I feel proud of myself because it was a lot of hard work, but I also want to acknowledge that, it's a privilege to live in a country, to be a woman, to be able to
Yeah,
study, to have access
yeah,
to higher education. And I acknowledge that, I was able to live with my parents while I was pursuing my graduate degree. So there was some element of luck and fate and goodwill of others that all the stars aligned. So I just want to acknowledge that I think I'm very privileged to have been able to pursue my dreams based on where I happen to be born and the family that I was born into. But yeah, I've worked really hard and it has been a long career. So thank you for
yeah.
acknowledging all of that work and
Course,
contributions to the
like,
world.
yeah. Of course, and I think that one of the amazing part about people that I basically find is that one thing is like, okay, you're using your skills to earn money, and that's completely fine. That's why like we have skills, but there's some people that I find that even though they used to earn money and that's okay, but their language is more towards helping people, and your language is more towards that. Like it's not just about, okay, I'm going for sessions. It's not like that. You actually have this free mindless group of women as well. So where does that mindset comes from, that you have to do that for others?
Well, thank you. I have been really passionate about providing services at all different tiers of economic availability, right? So, the beginning of my career was really public service oriented. So, I graduated from graduate school, but even during my training, I was working at like the state inpatient psychiatric hospital. I was working in public schools. So, I've really been a very community service oriented professional my whole career. I loved working with those kids. I worked in the New York City public school system for 4 years in one position and then in for a year and a half or so in another. And just giving everybody access to really good quality resources and therapy and to be fair and equitable. And it was really important to me in the beginning of my career, and still is now. But I liked moving from that to being an adjunct professor because then I felt like I was, putting out 10 to 12 amazingly well-trained, sensitive, empathic, culturally aware clinicians out into the world to like ripple effect that out even more
Yeah,
and
yeah,
more.
yeah.
So I'm hoping to return to teaching in the fall at a different institution because I just really miss being in the classroom with students and inspiring them. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think some of us are just born with a drive to pursue certain things, and I
Yeah,
don't know. Just my heart is there, whether it's like the way my karma and how I came back into the universe, like, and this healing healer or wounded healer, however we put it. I like healing healer better than healed than
yeah,
wounded healer.
of course, yeah,
Um, I just think everybody hurts, right? But we have different access to resources, so I
yeah.
just like to be able to help people wherever they are.
Okay, so just saying, like, for example, you wear many hats, right?
Yes.
You are a therapist as well, and then you talk about being a professor. And these are a lot of ways that, you are basically defined. And if, for example, there's a situation you just have to choose one of them, and that's like going to fulfill everything that you're doing, and that's okay. So, which one would you choose? Which hat fits you perfectly?
Oh, that is a good question. So my first instinct was to say mother, but that's not a job, but it is. It's a path, right? But it's not
Yeah,
one. But I like the private practice role, I think, and working independently the best, because I feel like I get to deliver really high quality, very individualized services, and I get to witness change over time.
yeah,
And it's been beautiful to watch people heal over the course
yeah.
of years. That's when I look back on my life and I think like there's something about watching change over time that's really powerful.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Also, like, for example, even like a lot of your work actually stems from your own divorce, right? So I'm just saying that you could have chosen anything. You could have chosen like working for children's affected, you could have chosen working for women in that same situation. But you chose, for example, one of the niche, like you want to work with divorced mothers in that way. So why is that something that resonated with you?
It's a great question. So I started off my career working with kids. So I have like a lot and kids and moms and working in dyads and then seeing women individually. But there's something about having gone through this process on my own. And as therapists, when we're in graduate school, you have to work with people who have different diagnoses than maybe you've ever had, maybe you've walked through life in a different color skin or a different religious background. So there's some things you can't have experienced because you'll never walk in their shoes, right?
Yeah.
But there's certain things like becoming a parent and getting divorced that are, everyone has equal opportunity to both. I hope that everyone doesn't get divorced, but we all have the chance to if we
Yeah.
get married. So, but there's something really unique about it. And I think for me, there was a lot of shame and isolation and a lot of shifting changes in social support at the time. So, my friends who were married, my family, my parents, my brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, it stirred up a lot and a lot of the people around me. And I felt like I was really missing like a solid foundation of social support in a way. Everyone tried their best. Everyone who's listening, you tried your best. But I just think there's something really special about having that intimate knowledge of what it's like to be in a quiet home when you're used to little feet,
Yeah.
to know what it's like to feel the death of your future as a married
Yeah.
person, to
Yeah.
not have that, no one, I didn't get married and have a baby envisioning being alone, raising
Yeah.
my daughter, archiving her childhood by myself, not being in pictures, needing to get a silly little, tripod to include myself in the memories. There's
Yeah.
just an ache to that really called my heart to help.
Okay. Also, like for example, even when it comes to your studies, always been through you being a psychologist. So, in retrospect, do you think that that you always have that pull when it comes to mothers and everything like that inclination, or do you think that it just came like this incident just happened that it was just snap of the fingers, you use it, and you were like, okay, whatever I have been becoming till now, I'm going to put into this process and just help the mothers who are going through divorce, and I'm going to devote it to them only.
I think that we evolve as humans and clinicians over time, and I
Yeah,
still love to work with any woman who has been through trauma, and I'm licensed and able to see you. I'm here for you. But there's something about the divorced moms that really touches my heart as a kindred spirit. So I think it's just been an evolution of my life and my clinical work and being a woman in my 40s, having been through it, the idealism of love in your 20s it's very different. Your body changes, your life changes, your priorities
yeah,
change.
yeah.
So I just feel like it's me and my work kind of evolving step by step.
Okay, that's nice. Also, for example, when it comes to like, for example, even in a marriage, like I come from a South Asian background, right? And for us, it's always like the main goal for women is to get married. And even if there are marital, for example, problems, they would suggest that the only way to solve that is just having a child, right? So for women, for example, who are going through those situations, right? I think that it's very hard for women even to recognize those red flags before they actually put their foot down and they're like, okay, I have to do something about it. So,
Mm.
are there anything that women, when they're going through and they think that, okay, that's not a really big deal, and you would say that, no, okay, these are the some situations regarding how you feel that you could actually pinpoint and do something about it.
That is a huge question. And I totally respect and appreciate, right? I am a white woman in America in the Northeast
Yeah,
in a very liberal place. So, context, heterosexual relationship, Christian, I am the majority of the majority. So,
yeah,
all the respect. I've had close friends and family from all over the world where marriage and how the woman fits into the life of the family, the
yeah,
opportunities and choices she has are very different based on their cultural context. And,
yeah, yeah,
whether you're South Asian and living in America versus South Asian and living in India, these are very different
yeah,
expectations and cultural norms too, right? So I think that well, when I was doing research, what I saw is that most women are contemplating divorce for about 2 years before they take the step to do it. And there is some, I was just at a conference the other week where we were talking about this phase where people kind of go in and out of really feeling sure about getting divorced and maybe not. For me, I think that when Obviously, if there's any kind of abuse, whether that's emotional, physical, verbal, I would also include financial. I think that there's a lot of financial infidelity that's happening. And I
Yeah,
think right now with social media, there's a lot of, we have this term now, micro cheating, right? Are you messaging other people? Are you liking other women's photos? There's all
yeah,
these other ways for a lack of trust to become a part of the relationship. I think that if you're being disrespected, if there's contempt, if you're being
yeah,
manipulated, controlled, like those are things that are sometimes really hard to see though when you're in it, because in my experience, personally and professionally, it starts off very subtly. And then before you know it, you're not wearing your hair the way you like it, you're not seeing your friends, your world has gotten
mm,
very small, and you've given up more than you're getting.
yeah,
I think that's kind of where, to me, the litmus test is like, am I a happy person? Do I like my life? Do I
yeah,
have freedom to have independence within this relationship? Are there more
hmm,
good days than bad days? And those would be
yeah,
some like guidepost kind of check-ins with myself if I was back 6 years ago, not sure what to do. Um, 'Cause having a child, if you really want to have a baby, it's beautiful. I would never go back and not have my daughter.
mhm.
I love her to pieces, but it doesn't make things easier and it doesn't fix things.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Yeah, I completely understand when it comes to even cultural differences. That's okay. But I've seen that even when it comes to women, we are such like everywhere. I think we are colonized in such a way that women have more or less the same idea. The society put same kind of pressure regardless of where
Absolutely.
you are from.
Sure.
And they somehow end up second guessing everything they are doing, not only the steps but also what they feel, if they should feel that. So that's why I
Mm.
think a lot of women actually second guess even their point to even to divorce, like you said, about 2 years. 2 years is a long time that they
It is a
actually
long
has
time.
been contemplating, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So just one thing to look back on, like for example, a lot of women think that okay, if we are going through situation, we shouldn't really share with other people, right?
Mm.
And they struggle in isolation. But you being doing, for example, that mothers group, I think that is like amazing for women to actually relate with. And they
Yeah.
sometimes feel like, okay, my problems actually okay, not that heavy that I feel. So, how would you tell those women to navigate those situations? That struggling alone, how is different from actually sharing with people?
Um, you asked such good questions. Let me sit with that for a moment. So, I think that community is really important. And I think what I've seen after the pandemic, just overall, is that the fabric of that connection has really weathered and deteriorated. And we're more
Yeah,
used to being alone and isolated and less comfortable being together. But to your point about second guessing, and you're totally right. We're all fed fairy tales. And we're
yes,
all fed that as women,
yes,
success is marriage. Okay. Since
yeah,
Jane Austen to now, like my girl's being it's shoved down our throat. Disney's trying to catch up with us. We got Moana. We got some
I
independent
know.
ladies out there, but princesses have a prince, right? And
Yeah,
that's part of what we're breaking down here. But I think just that's part of this breaking the mold and being with other people who are contemplating the same thing is that you're daring to dream a different future together alongside each other. And I think that shame lives in the shadows. So if we keep this quiet into ourselves, then we are protecting the people that are hurting and harming us, and we want to be in the light. And I think coming together and sharing your stories brings that shame to a place where you can look at it and realize you're not alone, you're not the only one. And that I think that in of itself is just such a healing experience to break that down, dismantle it in a way. And then you see other ladies that are living a different life. Like I love my freedom.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't have to clean anyone's dirty gym clothes, and it's great.
Yeah, I know. And while you were speaking, I just thought about this one incident. Like, I just went somewhere not to give this exam, and I sat with this woman who actually shared with me how her husband cheated on her, even when during the honeymoon period that is supposed to be amazing. And
Oh,
then somehow she actually had her daughter, And when I try to ask her that, how are you even doing things? How are you even living? And she's just like, I think he has changed or something. But you know what I saw? I actually saw fear of loneliness in women. So,
Yeah.
can you just reflect on why is there a fear of loneliness in women, and how can women actually embrace that? Yes, okay, it's like there are going to be times that I have to sit with myself alone and have to take things in, but how is that even like equally liberating for them?
You ask the best questions. So I will say that loneliness is crushing at times. And
Yeah,
I think you totally picked up on something that's so huge. I mean, when people think of marriage, they think of companionship. They think of
yeah,
someone to like witness your life with you alongside you.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
it's a beautiful part of it. Now, whether
yeah,
that person is good to you or not is something separate.
yeah, yeah,
So, but I would distinguish that there is being alone, cultivating solitude, and loneliness, and they are not the same.
yeah,
Loneliness feels shameful. It feels like there's something wrong with you, that like you've been rejected by the world. And I will say that there are times that I go out into the world and I feel like without a husband, there's like it sounds silly, but there's like no one to stand up for me. There's no one who's gonna like come to the place, to the car dealership and say, that was wrong, you overcharged her, right? I have to stand on my own 2 feet. And in that way, it was a big adjustment period. But I think that if you are able to find friends, family, other moms that can be your support network, I've found the more friendship I cultivate and curate in my life, and the more I focus on my own happiness, my well-being, and my daughter's happiness, I it's there are still times that it's there, right? My house was quiet over spring break. My daughter was away, but there's a peace and a freedom that comes with that choice to be independent. And, if you feel lonely, you do something about it. You get out, you go out into the world, you go for a walk, you go to a cooking class, you do mom walks, whatever it is. But I think that it's something you have to take action to combat. But I don't think that all of the being alone is bad. The being alone does not mean that you're going to be lonely.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
different.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, but I hear you. That's a big one. I think a lot of people are afraid of that.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, one of my friends, for example, she lives abroad and she's not married, but when she was in, she actually would tell me how it would ache her that she has to carry all of her groceries. She has to like go even to the bank to handle a lot of things. And it was like at one time I actually told her, so you want your groceries to be picked up. So that means you actually need a maid with you to be with you and not a companion, right? And she was like, no, that's not it. And now when I actually look back, like even you were speaking like about car dealership,
Yeah,
these are something that I think that people who are into a very weird idea of independence, they would say, so what, like be a woman and do these things. But it's good that okay, there's someone who have your back and these type of situations. So even for example, even when you're dealing with divorced women, they are sometimes often like, okay, they do feel that emptiness and their motivation to even get healed that diminish sometimes. So how are you able to tell them to navigate those situations, and also like how you were able to do that, for example, in those basic things that you feel that okay, I miss a companion, not the same one, but the whole idea of companion.
sure. Sure. So first of all, I think just because you can do it all doesn't mean you want to or that you
Yeah,
should, right? So yes, I can go to the car dealership now and be very nice and get everything I need done. But the first couple times was like a pang. Um, so so I think that for women who I think sometimes people feel like they want to have control over the healing process and they want to rush themselves through and get to a place before they're ready for it. So I think there's a part of it where like you're going to be angry and you're going to be bitter and frustrated and sad. And I am all for writing a letter and tearing it up, throwing it in the fire, stomping your feet, dancing your heart out outside. Movement, I think, really helps. Like sometimes you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do stuff to break this stuff down, but I'm not going to let you live there forever, right? You have to move on from that when the time is right. And that doesn't mean that you're going to forgive the person. You don't have to. But I think that sometimes women get so stuck on what's fair, what feels right, justice. And that is not always the way divorce works. So at some point, one of my best friends, I went to a shaman school a long time ago. One of my best friends was from Mumbai, and she was also divorced and magically had a trip to New York. It was 15 minutes from my house and showed up and said to me, sometimes you can't settle the account, you just have to close it. And it was like a mic drop moment. I was like navigating my divorce, and I was like, Mumta, that is so right. Yes, girl, we got to just close that account. So I mean, like you have to feel those feelings because it's part of
yeah,
the process. But I think this, like taking care of your own body, I really advocate for moving in a way that works for you, whether that's walking, dancing, whatever you like to do. I like to go to the gym and lift heavy weights. It
yeah,
works for me.
yeah,
And then I think if meditation can go along with that, great. Eating foods that are nourishing, things
yeah,
that grow in the ground, getting enough rest, and gathering with your friends. I think if you've got those four things happening, you're moving, you're eating well, you're sleeping well, and you're laughing with
yeah,
your friends, then you can move through some of the hardest stuff and find some peace again.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so while you were speaking, right, if I actually had to put myself, not like I would be able to relate to what divorce feel like and single parent, but as someone who has been through trauma, like there has been moment that I wouldn't be even able to get out of bed, let alone like if someone is telling me you have to do these four things, and
yeah,
I'd be like, no, I'm not going to. And I would actually get frustrated, like, why are you telling me to do these things when I cannot even brush my teeth or even take a bath, right?
yeah,
So, and that has that trauma does has that effect on people.
sure.
So when women like comes to you, of course, at that time they're so interwoven with those complications and how they should feel and how they should handle situations. So, what are the basic things? For example, even for someone who are not able to get, for example, that consultation with you, what are some steps that women can actually do, some basic things in order to keep themselves moving, you know? And I think first is like moving, and then it comes, okay, I have to do something about this situation.
Right,
First, they have
right.
to do that. So,
Yeah.
what are some steps they can actually take?
So, I mean, if somebody is so sad and so depressed that they can't get out of bed, I would tell them to at least change their pajamas in the morning.
And
If we're gonna
yeah,
stay in bed, put on some fresh, cute ones if you can when you wake up. I mean, it sometimes is that simple.
yeah,
Find something to watch, to read, to listen to that
mm,
makes you smile, makes you feel a little happy that you're in touch with. I mean, I wouldn't watch anything really depressing or bloody, like if I was really in a bad mood like that.
yeah,
Um, but I really like sometimes it's just as simple as change your pajamas in the morning. And
yeah.
we'll just start there. Just some fresh something on. Maybe brush your hair, maybe brush your teeth, and like we'll start there.
Or
It's
like have you ever been in that situation where it was really hard? For example, a mother was going through such a difficult time that it was really hard even to make her understand the whole idea of healing. And have you ever been in that situation? And how were you able to navigate and make her understand what healing is and why she actually needs it?
you know, I'm not sure if I should tell you about a client or if I should talk about myself in this answer.
Yeah,
Um,
like client would be like client
so
X.
yeah, I just because like I've been there, right?
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have had some really sad, really dark days, and I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and it started very young. So I have had a lot of people disappoint, abandon, wound me in profound ways that have made me question my faith in humanity, in God, in love, in trust, and everything. So I know that firsthand it's hard to get up out of bed. And what I'm telling you to do is what I tell myself on my lowest days. And,
Yeah.
I think this whole conversation makes me want to bring up the concept of hope. And this is something really depends on what people's cultural and spiritual beliefs are and how they connect to something bigger than us, which
Yeah.
is how
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
frame it. Some people just believe in luck, fate, the passage of time, chance,
Mhm.
right? I'm a deeply spiritual woman. I believe
Yeah.
that there is something bigger than us that we can tap
Yeah.
into and ask for
Yeah.
some support and lean into in times of need. So I hold that hope that maybe the next day will be just even a little bit better than this one, that no feeling state is exactly the same in perpetuity.
Yeah.
And there's also some really beautiful, I mean, when people are really depressed, they don't want to read or do anything, right? But if you can muster something up, there's this author, Pema Chodron, that I really like. She's an American Buddhist nun, and she's written some wonderful books. Hard Advice When Things Fall Apart, The Places That Scare You are a couple of my favorites. And she talks about these moments of like profound despair where you're kind of standing at the edge of an abyss and we have numbed ourselves so much that we are so terrified to feel that big sadness, to feel that
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
terror that we don't even get close to it. We buy shit we don't need. Sorry. We watch things, we stream, we overdo,
Yeah.
excess everything
Yeah.
to distract and avoid. So, and her advice is to lean into that, trust that you can tolerate the depth of that sadness, have a therapist, someone to call and reach out to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and know that you'll get to the other side. And that there's also a community of people that are suffering like you. So she suggests that you like send out a prayer to other people who are suffering in the same way.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
real isolation and solitude and self-pity that you can get really locked into here.
Yeah.
So on those darkest days, that's what I like to come back to that image and that story in the book because that really helped me out of some sticky spots.
Yeah. But so just one question. Like, I have more, but this just completely struck me. So, when it comes to even from a spiritual place, I am a Muslim, right? So, in my culture, like, so it's always like whenever someone is going through a trauma or mental health, any issue, even a slightly issue, I do feel that a mental health issue is much bigger because for physical wounds you can actually treat them, but for mental health wounds you actually have to identify before you can move on to healing, right? So a
Mm.
lot of people just suggest that, okay, why don't you just get more spiritual and that will solve everything. And my idea has completely changed that this has to go hand in hand. And now, for example, you actually having developed this spirituality, so how would you actually share with those women that things that, okay, we have been told that even spirituality, even me going just outside would actually solve things, so why would I even go for a therapist? I'm not mad. So, and it's this idea that a therapist, no, I'm not mad, why would I go to a therapist? I'm not crazy. So how
Mm,
do you navigate that situation?
that is a good question too. So I think that we are talking about the body, mind, the soul, the
Yeah.
three together. And I think sometimes the physical health is what we go to the doctor for. Whether you put it the mind or the soul is what goes to temple or wherever place of worship you go. But
Yeah.
I think there's a complicated web that's woven between the three. And I think that a therapist is a trusted, objective third party who is not invested in your life or the decisions that can give you advice without worrying about what your mom will say, what your sister will say, what your husband will say. And I think, we all could do with that kind of safe, trusting relationship to break down and unpack, these really deep issues that sometimes we're talking about the tip of the iceberg and therapy gets to what's underneath the surface. So you may
Yeah.
not be crazy, but you may be hurt And maybe we
Yeah.
need to understand that hurt in a
Yeah,
deeper way.
exactly. I think people just fail to understand that there's a difference when you say crazy. It's not about being crazy, it's about you being hurt in some way that you cannot actually see, but you can just feel it, right?
Sure. It's
Yeah,
unconscious. It's
yeah,
buried. It's deep
exactly.
underneath the surface. And therapy, I think, is, it's about making the unconscious conscious together. So it's recognizing patterns that feel uncomfortable. At the same time, I don't look for problems that aren't problems, right? So if you come to me and you say everything's okay,
The recording. I have
okay.
no idea what
So
you're
yeah, so we're
talking.
talking about that, looking for therapy and,
Yeah,
the not being crazy. I think a lot of people, and I've worked with people in New York City, and there's always this perception like, I'm not crazy, why do I need it? And
yeah,
for example, I've worked with people like chronic pain, right? And they think like, well, I'm not an addict, so why do I need? But it's sometimes we make so many accommodations, the way we live our lives based on these
yeah.
wounds that we don't trust people. We expect people to fail us. We lose hope. We feel short. We're anxious. We're worried. We feel sad, like profoundly sad. We feel disconnected. And I just think, like, why not use the tools that are here? I mean, there's so many of us that are so well trained.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know, I just don't think that suffering, we don't earn rewards for that. There's no,
exactly. Yeah.
like, you don't, it, there's saying, so like in Spanish, when I was in Mexico, they used to say, El sufrimiento es bueno para el alma, like suffering is good for the soul. I disagree.
I do.
But
I
thank
do.
you. No more
Yeah.
suffering.
Exactly. Like people have this idea that, okay, if you're suffering, even if like women are suffering, especially in marriages, I see women telling those women that, no, it's okay, the good times will come and that's completely fine. And I'm just like, no, no, it's not that. It's not like you don't have to suffer. You actually can take those steps in order to get better, get out of the situation. And it's not like more suffering would actually give you more rewards. There's this just a very, I think, broken idea that people have ingrained in themselves that the more
Yeah.
they suffer, the more reward and the more, blessing they're going to get. And that's just not
I
true.
mean, if that's a reward for suffering, I've had enough in this lifetime in 42 years. Like I will be generally rewarded in whatever comes after this lifetime. So I've suffered enough. I've like made a lot of mistakes, but I think that there's a lot of mental gymnastics and kind of making things make sense and work when, I see some really lovely marriages too, where they're like very happy and their partners are respectful. Everyone's time is valued. No one
Yeah.
is more important than the other. Each person is grateful to the other one for what they contribute to the family. And like,
Hmm.
that is possible. I witness it. I see it happening in front of me. Conflict is unavoidable. Disappointment, heartbreak, those things will be there. But I think that if there's a mutual positive regard, kindness, and respect for each other, and you can
Hmm.
communicate with each other clearly and directly, calmly, great. But we don't need to make excuses for bad behavior anymore.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Also, like for example, you have worked with both children and mothers, right? So,
Hmm.
especially like after divorce, like even in your situation, it's very hard to make even children understand what the meaning of divorce is and
Sure.
also how to protect them because oftentimes when people don't have any idea how children are going to get affected, the children often they go in one situation, they go to their mother and they hear a lot of bickering, they go to their father, they hear a lot of bickering. It's just that they're not even able to see their own emotions, right? So
Yeah.
what are some things that people like, for example, mothers need to be careful of in dealing with their children?
Great question, as usual. So first of all, I think that it's helpful to not say anything negative about the other parent in front of your child. That goes for everybody. That goes for extended family, at parties, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends,
Yeah,
because your child is half of each of you. And if
yeah,
you badmouth the other parent, you're telling your child they're half bad. That sucks.
yeah,
Don't make your baby feel like half of
Yeah,
them is rotten and sour.
that's a
Don't do
great way to
that.
put it. Yeah.
Right? Not okay. No. And I still tell my daughter the love story of how I met her dad and the good times. And I show pictures of vacations we took together when we had fun because I want her to be able to talk about how her mom and dad met in a positive way and know that,
Yeah.
my daughter was 3 when we separated. She's 8 now. So
Mm.
talking to her about it at 3 was very different than her confronting kindergarten and realizing that our family was very different from everyone else's family.
Yeah.
And then moving to 8, she understands it in a completely different way. So in the beginning, we started off with mommy and daddy will always be mommy and daddy, but we're not husband and wife anymore. We love you, but we're not going to
Mm.
be husband and wife. And the why and the why not and all that was just, it was hard to understand. I found some books that I've read that I think were helpful defining some of the terms. And I think that for parents, you start off with where you are, ask open-ended questions. Is there anything that's confusing for you? Anything that you don't understand? And if you're just separated, just talk about separation. If you're filing for divorce, talk about filing for divorce. Like you talk about what the stage that you're at when you're at it. Don't worry about 10 years from now and who's going to be at the wedding and who's going to hold the grandchild first.
Yeah.
Let's not go
Yeah.
there. But you will be at major life events together. I sit next to my ex at all the things. I save him a seat. She doesn't have to look for people in different places in the auditorium. We're right there together. We go to dinner together after big events. That took time to get to, but I realized this year that we're going to be grandparents together and we're going to be at her college graduation
Yeah.
and we're going to be at our high school graduation. So you can stay angry and bitter forever, or you cannot. And
Yeah.
I think that, that letting go of that anger and that bitterness, working that out with the therapist allows you to be more present and not feel negatively toward the other parent. And all that sets the tone for your child to not feel like they have to choose between the two of you, who's good, who's
Yeah.
bad, right? You're
Yeah.
different. It's not who's better or worse. You're different. Mothers
Yeah.
and fathers are completely different. So,
Yeah.
of course, it'll feel both homes. And one of the other things is to have the same expectations at each house. You unpack your backpack, you make your bed in the morning, you put your clothes away, you put your dishes in the sink. Anything you can do to make the rules the same across all settings so the kid doesn't feel stressed and trying to remember what do I do at each house? No, these are the
Yep.
things you
Yep.
do everywhere.
Mm.
Um, and I think that staying as consistent as you can with the schedule is really important. Being present when you pick your child up is huge. Put your phone away. Make eye contact. Give them a hug. Ask them what was cool about today, what felt good, what didn't feel good. Don't be on a work call if you can help it. Like those moments of reconnection are so big. So I think that, and I think if your kid, like my daughter, had a lot of separation stuff and like sleep at night was really hard. So I think validating the feeling, I know you're scared. I know you're
Yeah.
sad. I hear
Yeah.
that you're upset, right?
Yeah.
Um, Not telling them that that feeling doesn't exist or it's not real,
Yeah.
but trying to find ways for them to feel connected to you, you
Yeah.
know. I made matching bracelets with my daughter that we wore every day while she was at school for a while. So we would think of each other while we were at school.
That's
So
nice.
little things like that. It's like tangible, she could see it and
Yeah.
feel it and touch it and think of me, and I
Yeah.
did the same. So we did that for like 3 years. We wore the same bracelet every day.
That's nice. Do you think
Yeah.
that maybe like when you have now separated, divorced, you are actually more present because you are holding yourself more accountable to how you are with your daughter if you were like in the same situation and you weren't able to have gotten out of it?
I mean, I think I was really angry at her dad when we were married. So I think I'm much more present because I'm not like dealing with my feelings about him and also being there for her. There's logistical stuff that is really hard that I'm going to call out. I am the only person to do the freaking dishes. So I've got to do all the dishes. I have to do homework. I have to prepare her meals. I have to do all the laundry. I have to clean the house.
Um,
I have to work. So when you have a two-parent household, and your other person is present and accountable, then you have someone else to like sit with the kid to do homework while you're
yeah,
making dinner. There's someone
yeah,
else to pick milk up on the way home. So there are things that are just logistically a challenge
yeah,
that I still find a little bit difficult, but I, I always wanted to be a mom. It was my
That's
heart's
nice.
desire since I was very young. And I didn't want to just make a baby, I wanted to mother a human.
That's nice.
So, mothering her is really important to me, and I love my daughter to pieces. So, I think that I would have brought a lot of presence to this experience regardless. But I do think that, I haven't walked her in her shoes. So, I don't know what it's like to have divorced parents. And she says that to me all the time. And she's right. I don't know what that's like. However, I hold space for her with so much presence. And I don't know, it's hard to know what it would have been like if life had gone differently for us. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I love her fiercely.
Yeah, I think that even if, for example, while you were telling about me that, like, even if your daughter, of course, being in her shoes is completely different because she's dealing with a situation that you haven't dealt with. But I think it's also amazing from her perspective for her to see that even if it's not perfect, I can actually see my mom at least like she's making every kind of effort she can now to make sure that I don't even feel that she's missing like a big chunk of her life
Yeah.
and every part, even emotionally, mentally, like whatever there is, it's taken care of as first priority. So I think that's also like make a
Yeah.
big sense because sometimes women just like they leave themselves if they don't take care of themselves and in that way they're not able to even take care of their own children in that way.
I think that's a great point. And something that I saw in a lot of single women, a lot of single moms told me when I was going through my divorce, they said, don't do what I did. Make a whole life outside of your daughter, because then they're
Yeah.
going to feel like they have to come back and take care of you. So
Hmm.
my daughter and I were looking outside the window the other day and we saw this adorable little old lady like fixing her garden outside and, just sitting in the shade. And my mom was like, and my daughter, oh my God, my mom, oh, my daughter, that was a slip, was like, Mom, I hope that one day that's like you. You just have a nice little house and you sit in the garden, you're happy. And I want her to go off and have her own adventures.
Yeah.
So first, I wanted her to feel really safe and secure.
Yeah.
And then now I feel like we're at that point that she knows she has both of us. My ex and I are friends. We're very friendly. We're getting along really well. We're co-parenting really nicely. And our daughter sees us as friends. Her teacher sees us as friends. We're in a really beautiful place. It's very
Yeah.
harmonious. And I think that takes effort on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and so I credit him for that. He's really doing everything he can to be the best father he can be, and I have nothing but respect and gratitude for him for showing up like that in my daughter's life. It's really important to me to have them have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think her seeing me have friends, her seeing me, oh my God, the adventures of online dating. Oy, that's another whole conversation, Aqsa. But
I know,
anyway,
right?
oh my goodness, her comments are hysterical. But she wants me to like go out and not be lonely and sitting at home and like waiting for her. And
Yeah.
I when we first got divorced, it's funny, we would go out to restaurants and people would ask if we were waiting for someone. And now we go in and we're two, and we're a complete unit of two.
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
one asked me if I'm waiting for anyone else. But that was my energy as a woman walking in and being like, no, this is the tight unit
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
This is my
Exactly.
girl. We're good. So I think it's how you feel and it's being more comfortable and confident. And um but yeah, I know she sees that I can do everything, she can do everything, but sometimes you just don't want to do it all by yourself. So we have moments like that too, where you just want to be able to be taken care of, and there'll be time for that
Yeah.
eventually. Yeah.
Like for example, you also mentioned that when it comes to you going through suffering, right? I'm just going back, tracing my steps. So you also told that how much you were also like suffered when you were younger,
Yeah.
right? So even when you were suffered at that time, like if even if I see my own story, like if even if like for example there was a lot of childhood trauma and
Yeah.
how was that manifested in me to actually have a place where I could highlight people so that they stories can be archived for other people to take hopes from. That's just sometimes like very hard to connect with because it's like your choice that if I'm going through a bad situation, I can either choose to be like the people that did the same thing to me, or I can actually choose a route that defines me more, right?
Mhm.
So when was that time like you actually chose the route that I'm going to be a therapist and I'm going to help people through that?
Mm. I love your question so much. Oh, I'm going to be a little protective of my family of origin and
Of
say that I've
course.
had a lot of practice with dealing with a lot of things from a very young age. And I had a lot of childhood trauma,
Yeah,
and I haven't been super public about it, but I'm writing a memoir. It'll be out soon, and you can read, you could read about all the
perfect.
things there. But um, from when I was 16, I took my first, it was like a college level psychology class in high school. And I was like, whoa, we can understand people. Sign me up for more of that. So then when I went to to undergraduate school, college, university here, I studied psychology and Spanish, and then was really clear I wanted to go on for a master's and a doctorate. I finished, my degree in like 3.5 years. I lived in Mexico City for a little while, and then I went to graduate school. And I think there's some part of me, I hadn't processed all of my trauma yet. And in my program, we were a very psychoanalytic program, so there was a lot of depth. So I went to a supervisor, I was in therapy, so I was really exploring my own unconscious and my trauma and how it was affecting how I was interacting with the
Yeah,
patients that I was seeing, so that I could understand kind of where my hurt spots were in the fabric of my life, so that I
yeah,
could be, I don't want to say in control, but I do like professionally, ethically responsible, having good boundaries around
yeah.
cases that might stir up more of my own stuff and keep it really clear and professional. And also understand how that gave me an extra level of sensitivity to certain issues when
Mm,
they came into the room with me.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so, so from that point, I knew it's what I wanted to do. I loved my graduate training. I loved all of my training experiences. But I think that when I was, I loved the kids that I worked with in the city so much, but I gave so much of myself to that. And when I did my postdoc was at NYU Langone, and we were with adult women and their babies, and it was like dyad work. And I think that was one of the places where I realized I really wanted to help women with trauma, like the mothers, because I could see how that would change the course of the baby's whole life. And what
yeah,
a gift to have like a more healed mom to teach those kids, and watching
yeah.
these women blossom and
Mm,
bloom who've been through horrible things was just so powerful. So I think that really that took me in this direction even more than maybe I had been earlier in my training and life.
yeah, that's nice. It's amazing.
Mm.
Also, like, for example, there's this notion among mothers that uh, they will like kill for their children and they would do anything for their children, but their actions are never synonymous with this perspective that how about we try to live for their children, and when they actually do and they grow, they they don't realize how much they're benefiting their children, then have that perception of sacrifices and all of that. So how, if, for example, even if a mother who is watching this, how would you tell her about how important it is for her to take care of herself in order to take care of her children?
I mean, how can you ask your child to do what you're not doing? Right? You're leading by example. You're providing
Yeah,
that example. So my daughter sees that I exercise. She sees that I cook my own food, that I eat well, that I get together with my friends, that I dance and laugh. I create things with art. I love to read. And it is really easy to get into that sacrificial state. And I even think it goes so far as we martyr ourselves as
yeah,
mothers.
yeah.
Look at all the things I've given up for my babies. There is no reward for that, but
I
more
know.
suffering. Mama, give it up. No one asked you to not work out for 12 years
Exactly.
or
Yeah,
go for a walk or wear simple act. Buy clothes that fit your body now. Accept it. Love it. You brought human beings into the earth.
I know.
Don't be mad at it. You know,
Yeah,
but we punish ourselves by wearing clothes that don't fit, underwear that's too tight, all
yeah,
these little ways that we make ourselves feel terrible throughout the day.
yeah.
So I think that you're taking care of your baby's mother when you're taking care of yourself. And you want to be able to walk them down the aisle. You want to be able to go on walks when they're older. You want to be able to pick up your grandchildren. And all of that means you have to take care of your body and
Hmm.
heal. You
Yeah.
don't want to give your child a childhood they have to recover from. You
Yeah.
know, you want them to be able to play and be in their imagination and have safety and freedom and
Yeah.
personal choice, right? So you taking care of yourself means you're not anxious, you're not hovering, you're not overdoing anything. And I don't know, I think that showing your child that you show up for yourself as a mother, as a woman, as a person, I think that's just setting such a beautiful example for them.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's nice. Well, like when was that point in your life when you actually your perspective changed that I need to take care of myself in order to be able to take care of my daughter, even people I love around me, because if I don't do that, then I'm going to like be bad at each and every relationship, and there's going to be a vicious cycle.
So I'll give you a little. So one of my traumas on the menu of Vanessa's traumas, when I delivered my daughter, I had a very strange infection and almost died. So
Yeah.
I went totally septic and, bone infection in the hospital, body shutting down, fever, chills, spots all over. And when I left the hospital, I could barely walk around the block. I could barely carry her. It took me like a year and a half to be able to walk, maybe 10, 15 minutes without being in like
Hmm.
excruciating pain. I was living in Brooklyn, so I had to walk everywhere. And when I started to recover from that, then the pandemic hit and I got COVID, and then I got COVID again, and then I got COVID again, I got COVID again.
Oh.
So I was really ill for a lot of my daughter's early childhood. And then when I finally wasn't sick all the time, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't even like walk 15 minutes. This is nutty. Um, so I don't know. I think when she started to like walk more and have a little more independence, and I kind of recovered from the fog of that sepsis and how sick I was and COVID. This is the fittest I've ever been, like the way I am right now, like since I had her. So it took me some time to recover. Um, I don't know if there was a point where I just realized, I wasn't going to lose any weight or get in better shape if I didn't do something about it. So,
Yeah,
I,
but like for example, like I was actually getting because you mentioned about this on one of the podcasts you were in, so I was going to get into that. But the thing is that you went through the whole situation, and
yeah,
you being someone who always wanted to be a mother, that
yeah,
means that that was the one of the most painful situations for you. Like I can just imagine about that. And then we cannot forget how the body changes, and well, we cannot forget the postpartum depression. Like there's so many
sure.
things
Yeah,
at that time, but you were still able to see things, like for example, compartmentalize and also
mm,
realize that one of the main things in order to achieve stability would be divorce. Like, how were you actually able to see things clearly? Because a lot of women, they have so
yeah.
much that they confuse even their own emotions.
Okay, so there were more bad days than good days. And I was
Yeah.
sad and crying, and I wasn't there for my daughter, and I felt numb, and it was too many days like that. It was too much giving up, not enough getting anything back. And there were a few moments that crystallized things for me where I couldn't make an excuse for it anymore. My parents and family were witnessing things, and it was affecting. And as my daughter was getting older and feeling more aware and really witnessing stuff, there's something about what you're willing to make excuses for as
Yeah.
yourself and what you're
Yeah.
willing to make excuses for your child.
Yeah.
And this was not, I wanted her to see me loved differently. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want my marriage for her. And when I realized that, and I said that out loud to some of my mom friends, they were like, oh, girl, that was big. That was a big thing to say. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? And I think we all have to, I mean, for me at least, having like a truth teller best friend, I have this amazing best friend. I love her so much. I had dinner with her and she said, Vanessa, You keep saying in 6 months, in 6 months, in 6 months, but girl, it's been a year and you got to put on your big girl pants. You have to decide, like,
Yeah,
what are you doing? And when I come back from my vacation, you have to make a choice and you have to do something. So I was on a clock. And like, but she helped me because she knew me when things were good in our marriage.
yeah,
She knew me when
yeah.
things were worse. She saw me through the birth of my daughter. She witnessed so much of my life without judging me at all. No criticism, no judgment, just support and love. And she said to me, like, you were a whole person before you had your daughter and you're not happy and I see it and I think there's something about having like someone who loved me be able to see and show me what I was feeling on the inside and put it into
Yeah,
words. It was really
yeah,
powerful. And I also think I had to just feel like I was physically strong enough to take action. Like I wasn't strong enough for a while to really do it all by myself. So I had to let my body heal until it felt like the right
mm.
time too.
Yep, yep, yep.
If I was not sure. But I think, for some people, it's like the last time you ask someone to take the garbage out and they don't do it. There's like a moment. And for some people, it's just the slow degradation where like you're living completely separate lives and you don't even have dinner together anymore.
Yeah,
So I think everybody has their like breaking point.
yeah.
Um, for me, there were several. And my friend was like, Vanessa, what are you doing? Um, I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
that
I think
answers your question so
sometimes,
well, but yeah.
yeah, sometimes you just need someone to put some sense into, yes, what you're feeling is valid. And because
Yeah.
you, like, sometimes I think women just in a situation, maybe that's not bad deal, maybe it's not that big a deal. And sometimes like the bad influence actually tells you like, why are you even doing that? No, it's bad, you need a man. Like, you don't need a man. I think
No.
that society, yeah, and society is actually, I think, probably progressing in a way that women are starting to see that the value they bring to the table, because just the basic like being the mother is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like they're not even able to give, like, if a man dare to ask about what you bring to the table, like, I'm a whole woman, like, how dare you ask me that
I
question?
bring all of this to the table,
And
sir. You're lucky to be sitting next to it, sir.
I
So,
know.
no, you're right. I think that what I see is that men need a wife more than a woman needs a husband.
Yep, 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 yep.
So, and I see like on the dating apps, there's some lonely men out there, and there's some ladies looking to have some fun, but I don't need to live with anyone ever again. I don't want to get married. I don't need any more babies. Like, I'm good. But would I like someone to go to a concert with and go on a vacation with? Sure, but I think you're right. I think there's something about breaking down this mold of the patriarchy and the version of the truth that we've told is success as a female. We're more independent financially, socially, all the ways. But I don't want to glorify like singledom. Like people want to be with a companion. Like I understand a lot of people want to be in a serious relationship, but I think there's something about making that choice freely and making
Yeah,
a choice that feels good to you, not one that you feel like you have to stay stuck in forever. I've been in some miserable relationships.
yeah.
And
And I think sometimes also people don't understand that they get so scared by the idea of divorce that they don't see that while living in that, relationship, how is that even affecting their own child? Seeing
Mhm.
their parents struggle, seeing their parents like fighting all the time, that has a
Sure.
really like bad impact on children.
Yeah, I didn't want my daughter to be witness to
Yeah.
the way we were acting with each other. We are so much nicer to each other now. So much
Hmm.
nicer to each other now. And so she sees us being kind, being respectful, working together, solving problems, showing up for her, making compromises. Like this is, I hope that she has a relationship that's as nice. Like if we could be married and be this nice to each other, that would be great. But I think we're just, at least I feel, I don't know how he feels, but I feel like we're doing a really good job in this stage. But I understand that it's afraid because it's scary. I mean, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life was say that I wanted to separate. I mean, if I had known, I was with my ex-husband for 17 years. We were married for
Yeah.
12 years. We got together when we were 22 and we got divorced when we were 39. I walked alongside him for so much life.
Yeah.
right? We went through graduate school together. We
Mm.
became parents together. We did all this, but you know, I think there's just sometimes there's a time you have to call it, and I think it's very personal. But I would also tell women to choose their cheerleaders really carefully. If you have a friend that's very vested in, like, has a vested interest in you staying
Yeah.
together, or who is afraid of her own marriage maybe falling apart, or is insecure about that, like she may not be the
Mm.
one to go to for
Yeah.
advice. So that's where a therapist can be a great resource, right? Because we have no interest in the inner workings. We just want you to be happy and healthy and making a good choice. But I would say when fear and worry are guiding your choices,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to tap into that like higher self and intuition. So we want to
Yeah.
put those to the side.
Yeah. I do have more questions, but since
Yeah.
time is running out and I want to move into another segment, I
Okay.
just want to take a brief turn. While I was actually in your world, I actually felt that yes, for example, there are like two versions of you. Like I think you wrote about this as well,
Yeah.
Suburban Vanessa, and there was one more that I'm just not able to recall right now. And I also felt that the way you wrote, it felt like you also feel like how much you are actually putting in effort. You are actually not uh, receiving it back. And in some way, it felt like maybe you're being hard on yourself regarding how much amazing things you're doing. But at the same time, you're also like also questioning yourself that you're not doing enough. So if you were your own therapist, for example, what's one thing you would say to yourself in order to have all of the happy moments you talked about, they live forever?
I think like you're very good at this. Um, I would say like you're doing a great job and it's a process and there's no rush, right? And this is, I think, like I just had my th session with my therapist this morning and we were talking about building a foundation, right? And that, a good construction takes time. There's layers, there's support that has to go in place. And I think sometimes, I want to heal faster or I do feel like it's not enough. I've devoted so much of my life to mothering my daughter that there are times that I feel like my career hasn't catapulted in the same way that I would like it to, but I'm ready for it now, and so is she. So we're here, ready to be more busy.
Amazing.
But I think just like being kinder to myself, being careful with the words I use, right, when
Yeah.
I'm having those inner dialogues and trusting like everything's going to work out beautifully.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just this last one segment,
Yeah.
and then you're ready to go back.
Yeah.
So I often play this game. So I have a list of questions with me. You are going to just choose this one number. I don't even know what that question is,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then we're both going to answer that same question.
Okay. I like it.
Okay, you can choose the number.
From between what and what? One
Oh,
and
1 to 50.
1 to 15? 8.
8. Okay. Okay. Would you choose peace even if it meant being misunderstood?
I choose peace, even if it meant being misunderstood. Hmm. Like peace in the world?
Like peace for yourself?
Um, yeah. I've often felt misunderstood. I've always felt like an outsider, but I realize now that I don't have to prove myself to anybody. So I'm getting okay with being misunderstood as long as I have inner peace. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, yeah, same. Like first, I would actually go around and talk to people like, no, this is my opinion, and we have conversations about it. Now I'm just like, it's okay. If you think you have a certain perspective of me, that's completely fine. But then again, if it protects my peace, even if I have conversation with my loved ones, I'm just like, okay, you can think whatever as long as I know that I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be. I'm building something great. I am just like, it's okay. Maybe
Mm.
you will find a way to see me a different way, but then that's okay, even if you don't. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's conclude our podcast. It was amazing. It was
Thank you.
really amazing. like the fact that I actually ignored the time running out, that says a lot about how amazing it was.
Oh, thank you so much. No, you
No
had
problem.
beautiful questions, so thoughtful. It was such a pleasure to spend time with you today.
Yeah,
Thank you so
same here
much.
likewise. I basically, after I have conversation, I basically do write about all the people, like, and the way I see them. So I'm going to be sharing that all of this links and everything with you, just my piece and my perspective. So yeah, I'm sure that people are going to find a lot of hope and a lot of understanding from this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to
Thank you,
hearing from
Vanessa.
you.
Of
Okay.
course, of course. Thank you,
All right. Have
Vanessa.
a
Bye
great
bye.
day.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye.